This episode is partially brought to you by the Humble Choice program. Did you know Humble Bundle has a great monthly subscription service that lets you get a ton of video games every single month? That's right, from plans range from $5 to $20 a month, you get a hold of a bunch of free games they have available to you. And you could use our code down in the description below to go and sign up. It would help our podcast and help you see what great games are available for you this month.
Yeah, my name is Brandon Roberts. I'm the solo dev of Blue and Red Games, and my first game that's coming out October 6th is Ghost at Dawn. It's a survival horror game with an anime art style, and it's got a lot of interesting mechanics in it. It's not just an RE ripoff, but yeah, it's coming up real soon, and I'm crunching real hard to make sure that it's as bug free as possible. And yeah, excited to be here and talk to you. Yeah. So my I have no programming background or education. I I'm a musician and artist by trade, visual artist. Like do different types of digital and actual physical artwork, like painting and murals and canvas art and doing like installing decorative finishes on people's walls and stuff. So I've always been in art and music. I always played as like a semi-pro musician around the Chicago area, which is where you're from. You were saying, and yeah. So what got me in the game design was COVID. Actually, I got COVID very early in 2020, and I what's called a COVID long hauler, which means I still have, even though the virus has left, my body, I still have a lot of the symptoms of it. So my biggest thing is that I have pretty bad fatigue. So I couldn't do my old job of painting and doing art and installing art for people. So I needed to find a new career, and I thought of what could I do that I could work from home and take breaks when I need to when I get too tired, and that led me to game design because I've also a lifetime gamer. Love been playing video games since as far back as I can remember. So that was kind of my my odd start to it. Is yeah, I was stuck at home, tired on the couch, unable to work, and I had nothing to do and no money coming in. So I thought I'd give game dev a shot, and here I am. Yes, I mean that was by far the hardest part because that's what I had no experience in or background in. So like the first year that I had long haul COVID, I couldn't concentrate very well either. So I didn't start working on the game, but I watched a ton of tutorials for like a year, like almost every day. I would just watch and see you on Unity tutorials just because that seemed like that was um, the most prevalent on YouTube. Like it was the easiest to find the community to support and learn from. So I started just seeing like what's possible in the engine. And every time they would show coding, I'm like, I don't understand any of this. Like no one ever teaches you syntax. So I found out about Unity visual scripting, and I'm like, oh, this is my jam, right? Uh-huh. It was definitely easier for me to pick up than I tried to learn code for a few months, C sharp, and I couldn't, it just didn't click. So once I started messing around with visual scripting, it was just very obvious because it was just like a node and it said what it did. And it was like, when this happens, do this thing to this thing, do this action to this object. I'm like, okay, this is very straightforward, temporal, and logical. Like in C sharp, it seems like you have to list all your. I know this might be boring to people who aren't coding, but to me it seems backwards. You list all the things you want to do, and then you start with the end result, and then you work back from there. Where yeah, where it's it's you do the steps in order and it's left to right. You know what I mean? And it's just you don't have to, like, you can loop back, but like you see a literal string and it shows you where it's looping back to the logic. So being an artist, the visual aspect of it just made so much more sense to me. It just I I don't know if I mean, I'm sure I could have learned it, but it just made the process so much faster and easier for me. And over the past couple years that I've been doing it, Unity's made it so much better too. Like they didn't have all the functions or method, or I don't know what you'd ever call it. You couldn't do everything in visual scripting, but now you can. So, I had to do a few scripts that I did tutorials on, but eventually they made it and I got rid of those and I like the whole game's in visual scripting. And from what I understand, I don't have much experience in it, but it's very similar to blueprints. From Yeah, yeah. Every time I've seen a blueprint script or map or graph or whatever they call it, it looks pretty similar to the visual scripting graphs in Unity. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely. I wanted to give like a noir horror, obviously, theme to it, so I made it a lot darker and a lot more stark visually than just like the standard kind of bubbly anime, that you see a lot, like in Genshin Impact or something like that. I would say like my influences in the style were stuff like oh man, it's blanking out. Oh, Killer Seven, like Suda 51 stuff, No More Heroes, like that really stark comic booky look. Mad World. There's this game called White Knight that came out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 like 10 years ago, and it's delisted, so I don't even know if you can buy it anymore. It might be on. I think it's on Steam still, but it's not. You can't buy it on consoles anymore. They delisted it, and it's this. If you've ever, I don't know if you heard of it, but it's a really good survival horror game, and it's totally in black and white, and all you see is shadow, is like the shadows, the outlines and the shadows, and it was kind of cool that the outlines would turn white when it was in black, so you could always see everything. But it was just this really cool um, stylistic look that I just liked a lot, and doing a Resident Evil style game. And like I'll be honest, like Resident Evil is just my favorite series. It's obviously very inspired, and it's a Resident Evil. Like I'm not going to deny that. Like that's what I set out to do. I'm like I want to make the best Resident Evil game I can. The weirdest one, and so the visuals were like first in my mind because I wanted to play like a movie. It's not about like Twitch gameplay or learning combos or it's not about the gameplay. It's about the the vibe and the look and the exploration and discovery and the story. You know what I mean? So the camera angles and the looks were very important to me, right away, and just just to stand out a little bit, because it seemed like every survival horror looks like modern looks almost exactly like Resident Evil 1 remake, where it's really, so every decision I made came from a point from like, I need to make a commercial product. I know this is like just a weird thing to say, but like I was like, no, this has to stand out. I can't just make a fan game of it and hope people sell it. Like, I need to make a career out of this. So I'm like, and not that it was just from a cynical place, but like, I just, everything I did was just very thought out to stand out and to be something interesting and cool, so people get a unique and novel experience. Because I think, yeah, 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 yeah. So I played around with the look of it for a long time before I got it right. Even after like I like released the very first demo on itch, um, like it wasn't quite dialed in to what it is now. Where it's really the really stark shadows of it. But once I got it, I was like just cooking with gas. After that, I was like, all right, I get it. This is how it looks, and I'm just gonna you know fly with it. And it just, once I dialed it in, made making the rest of the game so much easier. Just because it was based on these really oppressive shadows. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I did digital art too. So I've done both my whole life. I've done like commercial art, like designing things for businesses, and yeah. So no, I've done like Photoshop and uh, yeah, digital art. I've done both my whole life. So I just experienced with both. Yeah. So that was the easiest thing for me, was having the artist eye, and having the composition and the color theory and stuff to make it look cool and stand out. Uh, yeah. When I watch a lot of streamers, they have the gamma cranked way up, and I think it looks like shit. Sorry, can I swear? Is that okay? Okay. I think it looks like shit when the gamma is cranked up. And so, the how I did my lighting. So you're probably not gonna like this answer, because my thing was, it was to say fuck it, make it dark. Make the game intentionally dark, where it doesn't matter if you turn up the gammas, you're not going to see anymore. It's just going to make the shadows gray. Like, it's not going to recess the shadows at all, because the shader on every object is a cartoon, is the cell shading. So it's not going to, uh, unless I manually go in and change the intensity of all the lights. Like, you can't adjust the brightness at all, which is why I made the joke. I don't know if you've played the game or the demo yet, but there's a brightness slider in the options page, and if you slide it up, it just slides back down and laughs at you and says you'll like it better in the dark. Because I literally the way I designed it, I'm like I literally can't have a brightness slider like unless I have like every light attached to the slider, which is like hundreds and hundreds, and it would just I don't know. That sounds like work. So the goal of it was to make the shadows placed exactly where I want them to be. Like the where the shadows strike, and it's just pure black. You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's not like less lighting is being cast. It's just all the shadows are pure black spots. Um, unless you light a match and then it'll light it up. But as far as where the lighting, the regular room lighting, it's just pure black. So I placed the lights and the shadows in very strategic spots so that you know if you can't see something, it's because I don't want you to see it, and I want you to be scared of the dark. And if there's something I want you to notice, it's lit up. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's with a fixed camera game, you have to pay more attention to the level layout, I guess, and also how you're manipulating the viewer because they're not manipulating the camera. I manipulate the camera, and they see what I want them to see at every turn. So, you know, positioning everything in logical and composed spots is like the key. So ultimately, if it's a little dark, like they just have to turn their own brightness up. But I made the light areas very bright colored. You know what I mean? Like that anime cartoony pop, and then the black is just pure black. So yeah, yeah, and that was like that was the revelation was when I discovered like I mean I'll give you a little bit of backstory. Originally, I was going to have the game when I first started on it. It was going to be first person and like realistic looking, and then I realized my laptop was a potato, and I couldn't do that. So I'm like, oh, I have to do stylized, otherwise I can't do it on this laptop, which I've since replaced. I have like a really nice one, but not until after I was very sure that I can make a game and make a good game. I didn't spend money on a new laptop, so originally I designed the whole demo on a total piece of shit. Didn't even have a graphics card in it. um, so I had to do stylized. So I'm like, I have to do very minimal polygons. I was like, all right, if I have to do stylized, I'm gonna do third person and I'm gonna do anime because I'm a big anime fan too, and I thought I could do a really cool, interesting look with it. Um, so I just I got sorry. I trailed. It sucks so bad. No, I was lucky that I real because it's fixed camera. I was like, no, it has to be no matter what display it's on, it has to be 16 by 9. Otherwise, like I said, how every camera shot is an intentional composition. I don't just throw them in corners, you know what I mean, and just aim them at the player. Like I everything makes sense for a reason of like trying to push players to go a certain way or show them something in the layout of the hotel. So yeah, I very like instantly I was like this has to maintain 16 by 9, and by doing that, by setting it up that way, when I switched, it wasn't a big deal. But the thing that really bit me in the ass was I decided like just a couple weeks ago that I'm like screw it, I'm going to add a bunch of languages myself, and that has been a nightmare with. UI. Yeah. Well, there's this website called google.translate.com. That's actually really good. To be honest with you, it's not bad. I've had people with other that speak other languages look over it and like they fixed a few things, but I would always like double check the meanings. Like if you click on the translation, it'll show you like what this really means, like in a more direct translation. And I always double check that was the right one. I mean, I'm sure some stuff slips through. Also, I can speak Japanese a little bit. Yeah, yeah, so I can read basic Japanese. So when I did Japanese, my whole plan was always just to do it English and Japanese so I could do it myself. But I was like, you know what, these AI tools are really good, so I'm just gonna go for it. And then yeah, 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 for sure. Um, you know what you know what's weird is that originally I took my English script, all the text that are like in the observation, whatever, just all the text in the game. I put in a like just a Word file, and I went through and I just simplified it because I thought the AI might not be that good, and so I simplified it so there were no idioms. Like you know what an idiom is, right? Like it's like a turn of phrase that would probably only exist in English, but if you directly translate, like there's more than one way to skin a cat. Like that might make sense in another language. They might think we're trying to skin a cat, but instead they're saying, yeah, they might take it literally. So I removed all the idioms and I just made it very plain. And it was easier because there's actually no dialogue in the game. There's only observations, which are mostly very straightforward, like this drawer is empty, this painting is blah blah blah. Yeah, that was the pain in the butt. Was like one thing I realized like half or after I already did it all was that in English the description for fire, like the shoot, was fire, and so when I went through it all, and it was just that word, so it had no context to translate it. I was like, no, this means flame for like all these other languages. So I had to go back and make sure it said shoot or attack, because I didn't think that it didn't know fire. So what I was saying about I simplified it and then plugged it in, and then some of the time I would just take the more poetic versions of it, because everything's kind of written in the like 1940s noir style, you know, that it actually was better at translating that and made it. Yeah, I was like, oh, like it does understand the idioms. That's crazy. So yeah, I was just blown away by how good it was. And obviously, I didn't just plug in AI and just hey, that's it. Like I said, I had not I don't know someone who speaks every single one of the languages, but like at least half of them or six or seven of them, I had people like just look over and like give me a couple notes on a few things that should be changed. But overall, it was because the nature of the game, the fact that it's just mostly descriptions and that there's no talking back and forth, but you do find like notes, and that was when I discovered how good it was like the notes were I didn't really change the notes to be simpler, um, and they translated really well. And then just to the double check and make sure, I would actually take the Google AI in whatever language, and then I would plug it into Bing's AI, Microsoft AI, to go back into English to make sure that the meaning was still there. And it was like 99%. It was exactly what almost exactly what I wanted to, or at least the meaning was there, even if it changed it a bit. You know what I mean? Yes. 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 Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh man, it was bad. Because I just didn't, there's so many things this being my first game that, I just didn't think about. I didn't worry about like saving until like a year in. And I was like, yeah, how does Unity save? Like, where's the save button at? And then yeah, how do I do that? And then I was like, oh shit. I have to manually like and especially being a survival horror game where, ammo doesn't repopulate, doesn't respawn. Like you pick up that one ammo, it's gone. Because otherwise it breaks the game. You just keep on going back to that room, getting more ammo, and then you have unlimited ammo because you're in the same spot backtracking. So, I was like, oh my god, I have to keep track of every single item that you can interact with and whether it's been picked up, whether it's in your inventory, whether it's in the item box, or whether it's been used. And I was like, it just was like months of work. And I'm like, oh my God, I should have played this at a time. But, uh, yeah, no, I'm doing that for the next one for sure. I'm like, I was thinking, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna reuse a lot of stuff, and then like as I've been fixing things so much right before launch, I'm like, I am starting from scratch, much better for the next. Some of them I'm gonna. Oh yeah, no, it's the game's on. I mean, I've rewritten the base logic of the game, like the inventory. No, the whole thing. I would say like three times. And still now that I'm at the end, like my script graphs are just huge and like just huge spaghetti things. I'm like, this is so bad. And I'm just like I already have the idea of how I'm going to streamline it, which I would do for this one if I had time, but I don't, and it works. So I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know. So, but for next time, I'm going to make it much more streamlined so that it's not going to matter in the end result to the gamer. It's just going to matter for my workflow, you know. Yeah, 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 exactly. Uh, for sure. Mhm, mhm. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm changing. I've been tweaking the game every day the whole time. Uh, that I'm very very receptive to feedback. Like I said, I look, even though this is a piece of art that I put my heart and soul into, and I think it's a very deep emotional game, and I think it's just obvious. It should be. It seems obvious. People are telling me it seems obvious that it's a very deep and personal game and there's a lot into it. But at the same time, like, no, I want to make a good game that sells because I need, you know what I mean? I'm limited in what I can do for money. And I just want to be straightforward with that, because that's just, I don't know. I just believe in being honest, So that being said, I'm very receptive to criticism, like constructive criticism and input for what players expect, especially because I'm actually not a PC gamer at all. I'm a console gamer. So like my set of assumptions from a console player is very different from a PC player. Like there's just all these because there's different types of hardware. I had to put in just a million times more options and accessibility and catering to different types of setups that I was just never thought of. Like it just took more time and than I thought. But I because I don't know, I've just listened to feedback so much. Every time I watch almost every streamer that streams my game. I've been giving out early review copies past couple weeks. I've watched almost every one, and I just like see all the bugs. And the cool thing is these streamers they tend to message me or email me and be like, "Hey, I liked your game, but like this," and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool," and I'll just fix it, you know. And most of the time, it's never like big things, you know, like they found something offensive in the horror of it, you know, like it was like a little too dark or something. It's mostly just like, hey, this was like a little bug. This happened. This is a little glitch. Hey, maybe you should try doing it this way. And you know, it's stuff that ultimately just makes the game better. So like, I've just been so happy that so many people have picked up the game and told me what they did and didn't like about it, you know, and just by having that mindset of like, no, I need to make a product that appeals to at least a decent amount of people, you know, it allowed me to take myself out of it um and not be offended by any criticism of it. So, but yeah, the demo. I mean, the demo is actually just the first like hour of the game, and it, you know, just cuts off after the first boss fight. Um, so I was updating both of them at the same time. I just only recently split them into two different files. Like I was just like, you know, have a little piece of code that just, you know, essentially turned the like, you know, went to a game over demo screen after we beat the first boss, or you continued on for the rest of the game. But then I forgot why, but I split them off. So I haven't updated the demo in like a month or two. But it's there's not because I was updating both. They're both pretty similar in content and whatnot. But oh, with yeah. Uh huh. Yeah, obviously. But so I mean, from my perspective, when it first announced, I was like, the first thing I did was like read it. I was like, oh, this isn't going to affect me. You know, from the selfish standpoint, I was like, if I sell 200,000 copies, like I can pay some fees. It's going to be okay. From my business perspective, obviously, people, other companies, not so good. And so obviously it was concerning because you know, like when the backlash happened, I'm like, oh my god, are they going to tank? You know, so but once the backlash was so strong, which I was happy because I'm always happy when people protest and strike, you know, and and you know get more power back from you know the fat cats. Like I was like that. So I was happy with the backlash, even though like me personally, I was like it literally is not going to affect me. Um, but I'm glad they put the fear of God in them a little bit. All the bigger indie companies that were like, yeah, we're switching to Godot or Unreal or whatever. So I was happy that happened. And then obviously, like I knew they were going to walk it back. They had to. It was either that or like tank, you know. So they walked it back, and it seems reasonable, you know. The thing is, like, I thought about it because everyone was switching. I'm like, oh, is this a sinking ship? Do I need to get off of it? But like, one, my game comes out in 3 days, so no, there's no way I can get off of it right now. And then on top of that, because of visual scripting, um, because of my use of visual scripting, and that I don't know a programming language, I'm like, well, I'm kind of stuck where I'm at because Godot got rid of their visual scripting thing, and I mean, I guess I can use Unreal, but it just Unreal doesn't seem like the graphical solution for me. You know what I mean? Like for what I'm trying to do. and I just learned Unity, and I just don't want to switch. So I just have to be honest. Like I'm glad. Yeah. Oh, it's worse than that because you just learn guitar and then you're making money as a professional guitarist. Then all of a sudden, the guitar factory stopped making guitars, and now you have to switch to something else and keep your income going. you know, it's, oh, absolutely. And I'm new. I have like a year and a half experience in game dev. I'm still learning Unity. I'm still finding. I mean, I found out like some new stuff just yesterday when I was fixing bugs. I'm like, oh, I could have done it this way. and I'm like, God damn it, that would have been way easier if I knew that from the get go. like I just found out about triggering custom events. I'd always just have like, and I know this sounds stupid, which in C sharp it's just a callback, but you can't do that in visual scripting. So I'd always have just like one of their trigger options cause something. You know what I mean? What I would do is just I would turn on an object that had a script on it, and then it would just be on start or on enable. It would do the thing that I wanted it to do, and then turn itself off. And then I was just like, oh, you can just do custom events in this little node thing. I'm like, oh my god. Like I said, everything works, but like I could have made it easier on myself had I been an expert. Obviously. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's making me excited to start, which I've already like announced that I'm doing a sequel, and I'm hoping to do one of these games every October. They have one out every October for the next few years. So there's even teasers for the next one, like in the credits, like kind of like a Marvel movie, almost for the next one. So yeah, yeah, I don't understand why other indie devs don't do it. I always see indie devs like, oh, I just start a game and then I work on something else because it interests me. I'm like, that's nuts. I'm like, I've worked on one game my whole life. It's just this one. Like, I've never I have other game ideas and I jot down notes, but then ultimately I'm like, no, let's just keep this going. Like one, you get better at it. Like I'm sure doing it faster. I mean, you know what I mean. Like the next one's, I'm hoping I can build off of what I learned and what I built, and pump it out in less than a year and a half. I'm hoping to pump it out in a year. Um, but you're also building, yeah, like you said, a brand and an audience. So I'm hoping that this one does well enough that it maintains interest, and I can just keep on growing. Mhm. Yeah, like I said, it just doesn't make any sense to me from a business standpoint why you'd want to do different games unless you've built up so much trust with your brand that you can try it. But it's like When I come from a music background, I come from a music background, and bands don't change their genre album to album for the most part. Maybe a few bands. Punk bands release punk albums, metal bands release metal albums, and etc. And their fans, if fans get mad when they do something that's completely different, they're like, "Oh, I should have kept on doing the old shit." We don't like the new shit. So to me, it was like, I might do a different game after I've done like three of them and I've built up a following. But even then, it might be a different uh, style of like game design, different genre of design. But it's going to be a horror game. Like I'm never not going to do horror because that's one, I love it. Horror's my favorite, and two, like that's where I'm going to build my audience, my brand, and my trust with people. You know. And I always think of Hugh Jackman. Like he he'll just keep on playing Wolverine. He don't care. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not even gonna do that until at least I'm three in. That's my plan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And and as much as I'm commercially focused with Ghost at Dawn, it's not like it's not. It's exactly the game I want to make, and it's exactly the game I want to play. Like I love it. Like I'm very proud of it. I wouldn't change anything. Like I I wouldn't, and it's a weird game, which again I don't know if you've played it at all, but it's I if people play it, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that they're not expecting. Like it's not just a Resident Evil survival horror clone, and you know what to expect. Like you definitely will not. I throw a ton of curveballs. Like one of my favorite thing is just messing the with the player, and so like you ever play Eternal Darkness or Doki Doki Literature Club? Like I love, yeah, that one ends up like and it turns into a horror game, and it talks to you, the player. So even though the horror happens to the character Ben O'Hara, um, there is fourth wall breaking stuff where like it seems like the spirit that haunts the game is talking directly to you, and things in the game mess with you a little bit, like Eternal Darkness. Uh, there's definitely some things that are, well, like when you start the game, it says three truths, and it tells you it tells you how the game works, and one of them is a lie, but I don't tell you which one. It's just stuff like that. So like, there's definitely a lot of personality, a lot of quirkiness to it. So I want it, it's commercially where I want it to be commercially viable is that it looks great and it's like it's kind of easy to get when you see it. You're like, oh, it's anime Resident Evil, like that's my elevator pitch. But once you play it, you're like, holy shit, like I wasn't expecting this, which it seems like that's the reaction I've been getting from people, and that's good because like when you're doing indie, you need to provide a novel experience. Otherwise, just go to AAA because they're going to do it better. Yeah, yeah, of course. Like that was the same thing. Like I love, like I said, Resident Evil is my favorite series. I my favorite one is actually Resident Evil 4. And I love the classic ones like that are like Ghost of Dawn with the fixed cameras. But my favorite one is the over the shoulder action one, which is nothing like Ghost at Dawn. But am I gonna make a Resident Evil 4 better than Capcom? No, no, I'm not. Not with all the modern, especially the remake that just came out, which was just as good as the original. And then everyone's doing that too. Like, no, I can't do that. So what I think indies need to do is, I'm like, okay, I can't make a better Resident Evil 4, but can I make a better Resident Evil 1? That was on the PlayStation? Like, yeah, maybe because that was 20 something years ago, well, almost 30 years ago, and the technology makes it easier. Like, yeah, I can make a game about that length. You know what I mean? And then I can give you people that nostalgia of that old game because at the time, no one was making fixed cam survival horror games really. There was like one other one, which is Tormented Souls. But now that I've started, there's like a bunch coming out. It seems like everybody had the same idea. But that was my idea. Was like, okay, like I can't, you're not going to compete with the big dogs. You have to give them something either nostalgic or something completely new, you know, to to draw them in. 29.99, but there's a sale the first week. I think it's 15% off. This, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Happy to talk with you.
The SWW show and all of its affiliate podcasts are podcast by me, Mike Maroney, and AJ Losi, sometimes by contributors including Corey King. You can follow the SWW show on social media at the SWW show, or sooner or later you go to patreon.com/SWW to help us out. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.